Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well today. I have been out currently with a neck injury, and that has hampered my training for the past 2 weeks. But what it hasn't done is mess with my reading ability, which I consider to be another kind of form of training. And I want to discuss quickly a book that I've been pursuing called The Constraints-Led Approach, and it is by Ian Renshaw, Keith Davids, and other numerous authors. But it's a very fascinating book in that it's discussing what's currently become like a little item in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like a new piece of the puzzle that kind of people are really into. And that little theory, that little pursuit of theirs, is called ecological dynamics. Now, I am by no means any kind of authority on this subject, and I'm kind of happy to be out with an injury for a little bit, because I'm kind of, I think the time kind of requires this little pursuit. It's not the easiest read in the world, and a lot of the terminology used are very new to me. This is a book that has a sports science bent to it, and that's definitely a new subject for me. I didn't study any of that in school. Anyways, though, I'd like to discuss a quote from this book, and this quote is on page 61. It reads, "In some parts of the practice landscape, there are fewer affordances with narrower task constraints and fewer opportunities for action. And in other parts of the continuum, there are situations with less narrow task constraints, which invite a more diverse range of behaviors. The challenge for coaches is to understand where on the practice landscape continuum each learner needs to be, when he or she needs to be there, why he or she is best placed at the location on the continuum, and what practice activities need to be designed for an individual learner at that point of the landscape." What I take that quote to mean is that when it comes to our practice sessions, this whole theory is designing a practice session that doesn't have as much of a drilling component to it. When we drill our different activities, we can have people then learn a given move in a scenario. If, however, we design a session for them, more of a live engagement activity, they might be able to find these options themselves. And we won't necessarily have to drill this into them by showing them various techniques that they might have difficulty applying without the narrowing down of a live session. And when I say narrowing down a live session, I mean that when a lot of coaches do their live roll, they'll just make it a pure exercise where the students can pursue anything at any given moment. They're not hampered by any kind of position, and they can just go all over the place. With our constraints-led approach, we are looking at narrowing, as the book talks about. We're narrowing these constraints to limit the amount of things that they can do, and we can hone in on certain things we want them to understand. But let me give an example of this. One thing we can do is I can teach people how to hold the mountain position. I can give them various techniques of which they can drill, and then they can see that these different ideas exist of how to hold the mount. I could do that, or what I could do is I could design a game focused around the mountain position and maintaining that position against a set amount of offense. But I can lock these two students into this scenario so that they can discover for themselves how to hold mounts better. Now, as this book is talking about, and especially our quote that I just read to you, we are needing to find what learners need, what little session to hone in on, and how much of a constraint do we give them. For instance, a more advanced practitioner might need a less narrow constraint so that they can have more options to explore. Whereas a complete beginner student might want to really honed in on constraints to where they don't pursue things just completely random and they actually get something from the live session because they can learn some little skill that will carry them, that will also be applied to other areas of either our jiu-jitsu landscape or our judo landscape. What I've also found from personally applying some of this is that when it comes to beginner students, there needs to be kind of an onboarding process of how things should be done. Martial arts can be incredibly intimidating when you're first starting out. And if I just have these new students go straight into a role, then it could be incredibly awkward and dangerous for them because they don't know what to do and they have too many options. On the other hand, I just set out a live activity that has a really narrow focus for them to pursue, then they can feel accomplished whenever they actually attain this given condition. So today, for instance, I had two people rolling, one on their back and one on top, and I put out a cone on a just little area of the mat, and I said that the person on top has the purpose of denying the person on bottom from reaching the cone, and the person on bottom needs to, of course, we call it shrimping, needs to be shrimping out and pushing off of their opponent in order to reach the cone. This little game that we played allowed both parties to pursue two different options. So the one person was learning through the use of action how to hold another person down. And the person on bottom who was trying to reach the cone was also learning for themselves how to push and scramble away and how to create distance. This little battle I felt was way more useful than just a live activity where the two people are just all over the place and they don't necessarily get much out of it. This is especially true when one partner is just way more, has way more of a knack for this than the other partner. Just due to experience or like our physical characteristics, one could be a lot bigger than the other. But instead of it being just a new person getting dominated, we kind of, because we put this constraint on what happens during this contest, both people could be kind of built up from the activity. But anyways, I hope you have enjoyed this talk, and I also hope to refine it in later days by speaking more and especially better on this subject of ecological dynamics and this constraint-led approach in general. As of right now, I'm still in the middle of reading our book, but I just wanted to show that things from it are actually working for me, and I'm immensely enjoying it. I would also highly recommend you explore it too, because it's just a great read and it's just a very new way of thinking about things. For so long, the idea of drilling a technique into a person and showing them over and over again how to do a move has been the dominant way of teaching the subject matter of either of our little martial arts. But this new little method, I think, has some real merit. Anyways though, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and take care.